Hello friends, my name is Bhavesh and today I am discuss about the types of DC motor. Okay, so we are I am writing this the types of DC motor. Okay, basically there are 5 types of DC motor. First is permanent magnet. Second is separately excited motor. Third is series wound motor. Fourth is shunt wound motor. And 5 is compound wound DC motor. Okay, the types of DC motor. This is 5 types of DC motor. First is permanent magnet motor. Second is separately excited motor. Third is series wound motor. Fourth is shunt wound motor. And fifth is compound wound DC motor. Okay, and today I am discuss about this permanent magnet motor in this video. Okay, so I am write this permanent magnet motor. Okay, so a permanent magnet DC PMDC motor is a DC motor whose poles are made of permanent magnets that is field flux required in the air gap of PMDC motor, and PMDC motor is developed by a set of permanent magnets. Okay, this is figure of PMDC motor. PMDC motor means permanent magnet DC motor. Okay, and this is figure of permanent magnet motor, PMDC motor. Okay, so I am writing this a permanent magnet DC PMDC motor is a DC motor whose poles are made of permanent magnet that is field flux required in the air gap of PMDC motor is developed by a set of permanent magnets. Okay, a permanent magnet motor PMDC motor is DC motor whose poles are made of permanent magnets that is field flux required in the air gap of PMDC motor is developed by a set of permanent magnets. Okay. The permanent magnet of a PMDC motor are radially magnetized and mounted on the inner periphery of the cylindrical steel stator. Okay, cylindrical steel stator. Okay, I am write this. Please see this. The permanent magnet of a PMDC motor are radially magnetized and mounted on the inner periphery of the cylindrical steel stator. Cylindrical steel stator. Okay, and the stator also serves as a return path for a for the magnetic flux. The stator also serves as a return path serves as a return path for the magnetic flux. Flux. Okay, and the field coils are not usually required for this. Okay, a field coils are not usually required. However, some of these motors do have coils wound on the poles. However, some of these motors do have coils wound on the poles. Okay. If they exist, these coils are intended only for recharging the magnets in the event they lose their strength. I am write this. If they exist, these coils are intended only for recharging the magnets in the event they lose their strength. Okay, the rotor of this motor is similar to the rotor of conventional DC motor. That is, rotor of a PMDC motor consists of armature core, armature winding and commutator. Okay, the rotor, okay, okay, the rotor of this motor is similar to the rotor of conventional DC motor. That is, the rotor of PMDC motor consists of armature core, armature windings and commutator. I am write this. The rotor of this motor is similar to the rotor of a conventional DC motor. That rotor of a PMDC motor consists of armature core, armature core, armature winding and commutator. Okay, armature winding and commutator. Stationary carbon brushes are kept pressed on the commutator surface as a conventional DC motor. Stationary carbon brushes are kept pressed on the commutator surface as in a conventional DC motor. DC motor. Okay, and the material used for the permanent magnets are ceramic and rare earth magnetic materials which have high residual flux as well as a high conductivity. Okay, the material used for permanent magnets are ceramic and rare earth magnetic materials which have high residual flux as well as high conductivity. Flux. A two-pole PMDC motor figure is here. Okay, this is figure, and a small friction and sub-frictional kilowatt motors are now constructed with permanent poles. Small friction and subfrictional kilowatt motors are now constructed with permanent poles. Most of PMDC motors operate on 6 volt, 12 volts and 24 volt DC supply obtained from batteries or rectifiers. Most of PMDC motors are on 6 volt, 12 volts and 24 volts DC supply obtained from batteries or rectifiers. Okay, the torque is developed by interaction between current carrying rotor conductors and magnetic flux set up by the permanent magnets. Okay, so this I'm write this. The torque is developed by interaction between current carrying rotor conductors and the magnetic flux set up by the permanent magnets. Okay, so this is equivalent circuit of PMDC motor. Okay, the PMDC motor, the field flux in the PMDC motor is developed by a permanent magnet in the field winding, not shown in the equivalent circuit. The major advantage of PMDC motor is that they do not have any field winding, so they require no excitation current. Okay, thus there is not a continuous loss of energy in the field. I'm write this. This is equivalent circuit. Okay, the field flux in a PMDC motor developed by permanent magnets. The field winding is not showing in the figure. Okay, the major advantage of PMDC motor is that they do not have any field windings. So they require no excitation. Thus there is no continuous loss of energy in the field, because of absence of field windings. There is not continuous loss of energy in the field. So because of absence of the field windings, there is savings in space, and PMDC motors are smaller in size, are smaller in size and cheaper in cost in comparison to corresponding rated conventional DC motor. Cost in comparison to corresponding rated conventional DC motor. Okay. The limitation of PMDC motor is that the auxiliary current in the armature winding may be damagenize the permanent magnets, and also the flux density produced in the air gap by permanent magnets is limited. The limitation, one second. The limitation of PMDC motors is that the excessive current in the armature winding may damagenize demagnetize 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 the permanent magnets and also the flux density produced in the air gap by permanent magnet is limited. By permanent magnets is limited. Okay. The risk of permanent magnetism getting destroyed by armature reaction has been greatly reduced by the new permanent magnetic materials like samarium, cobalt, and neo-iron boron. Okay, I'm write this. The risk of permanent magnetism getting destroyed by armature reaction has been greatly reduced by the new permanent magnetic material is limited. Okay, the risk of permanent magnetism getting destroyed by armature reaction has been greatly reduced by the new magnetic material is limited, like samarium, cobalt, and iron boron. Okay, so the risk of permanent magnetism getting destroyed by armature reaction has been greatly reduced by the new permanent magnetic material is like samarium, cobalt, and iron boron. Okay, these offer motors offer certain type characteristic can be only be armature control. I'm write this. This motor offers some type characteristic and can only the armature control that in PMDC motor speed and torque controlled through the adjustment of voltage applied to the motor terminals, armature windings, armature resistant, control, and chopper control. Okay, this motor offers shunt type characteristic and can only the armature control that in PMDC motor. Speed and torque control through the adjustment of voltage applied to the motor terminals, armature resistance control, and chopper controls. Okay, the last point, the PMDC motors are used extensively in automobiles as a starter motors and for windshield wipers and washer, for blowers used in heaters and air conditioners, to rise and lower windows in slot cars and electric toothbrush, and in personal computer disk drives, etc. I'm right this. The PMDC motors are used extensively in automobiles as starter motors and for windshield wipers and washers, for blowers used in heaters and air conditioner, to rise and lower windows in slot cars and electric toothbrush in personal computer disk drives, etc. Okay, so PMDC motors are used extensively in automobiles as a starter for motors and for windshield wiper and washer, for blowers used in heaters and air conditioner, to rise and lower windows in slot cars and electric toothbrush in personal disk drive, etc. Okay, so in this video we are complete the types of motor and the permanent magnet motor, PMDC motor. Next video will be arriving in short time. Okay, so thank you very much. Have a